start. Now you know I'm coming through. When the growth look good on you, best believe they wanna screw now. I've been trying to climb, devil threw me in the dark. Baby, don't be insecure, you can still go make a mark like blow. Could never let them drain my soul now. Blow. Table turning like doorknobs, wow. Blow. I think I'm about to set sail. I'm a walking, living legend, walking with my chest out. Life keeps dealing me cards, I keep feeling it.
What up, people? What's going on? What's going on? What is going on? It's G. We're back in the building. You already know what time it is. And as you guys can obviously see on the screen right now, Jordan Henderson, captain of Liverpool, 12 years of service, I do believe, has signed for Al-Ettifaq. I believe the documents are being signed and sealed as we speak, and he will be unveiled as a new Al-Ettifaq player at some point today, potentially even by the time that this video has already dropped. There are even talks about the number he might even take, which you will actually find is quite surprising, could be the number 10. So you could go from 14 to a 10 in next to no time. Join up with Steven Gerrard, obviously over there in Saudi Arabia, amongst a host of other players. So many different players obviously have made their way over there to Saudi Arabia to play in that league. Whatever you guys might think in regards to that, irrelevant. Ultimately, that league is becoming stronger and stronger by the minute. But people, please, you guys can see it scored across the bottom. Make sure you're smashing a like. Make sure you share. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you do not mind. If you do like the content, even if you don't, just smash the damn like. It doesn't take too long. Now, obviously, you know, Jordan Henderson, Liverpool legend, of course he is. You know, the man who captained Liverpool to their first Premier League title, their second Champions League triumph, League Cup, FA Cup, you know, all of these various different things. I think, you know, we already know when it comes to Jordan Henderson. A lot of people have spoken about it. I'm not going to get too much into that nitty-gritty stuff in terms of the semantics in regards to him moving to Saudi Arabia. Ultimately, he's moving there. Whatever you might think of it, again, it is kind of irrelevant. It's not your career, it's not your life. So we have zero say on, in regards to what he shouldn't do and stuff like that. Of course, we've all got opinions. But ultimately it doesn't really matter. You know what I mean? He's made his choice, he's made his bed, he's got to lie in that now. With everything that he's done, previously, he's still a Liverpool legend. I don't think moving to Saudi Arabia, changes that. I've heard people talk about that, because he's going there. Does that mean his legacy, has changed for Liverpool in any such way? I don't see, why that would change. I believe he's still the exact same way you saw him. If he didn't move, is the same way you should see him. See him now, because you should be judging him from his time on the football pitch. For mainly anyway for Liverpool, and of course all the amazing things he's done off the field. In regards to the BLM stuff. The LGBTQ, things in and around that. There's been a whole host of things that he actually does off the field, and he's someone who's been a voice for Liverpool in regards to. He's been one of the main components as to why Liverpool, in regards to how we are seen as a football club amongst Europe, around the world, obviously in the Premier League, why we are seen the way we are seen, because of some of the things that he actually does. Of course, not just only him, us as a club as well, but he plays quite a big part of that, especially under, Jurgen Klopp. So, in regards to that, there's nothing, realistically, I would say, that would mean, I'm against him or anything like that. And everyone's got their opinions ultimately. So, it is what it is. It literally is what it is. Obviously, his Liverpool career, 492 games signed, for Liverpool back in 2011, 16 million pounds from Sunderland. God, it seems like a lifetime ago that we actually signed him. I think it's just because we've had different players, managers, styles, ownership. He's been through it all. Honestly, he has been through it all, throughout that kind of time. And you guys can see scroll across the bottom, but if you can see, on the screen, 492 games for Liverpool, 33 goals, 58 assists in all competitions. It's crazy. I'll keep it real with you. It is crazy for someone to have spent so long here, so close actually to that 500 games for Liverpool. I'm sure he would have wished he probably would have passed that threshold, especially being the captain for Liverpool, for so long. Passing, taking over, should I say, from Steven Gerrard passing it on to him. I think at the time that's probably the natural order of things. If I'm being honest, I'm struggling again. In the comments, let me know. Maybe there was someone else that you potentially might have thought of. There might have been, but I think he was just the natural choice, at that time in terms of seniority within the squad, within the club. Players who had been there a while, obviously had been there under Kenny as well. So and he understood a bit of the ethos about the football club in a general sense. So when Gerrard obviously passed it on to him, I don't think many people would have been too angry or anything about it. Whatever you think about his playing ability, and obviously we can get onto that in a second. Whatever you think about that, just him as a captain, if we're gonna go down that route first, him as a captain, him as a leader, I think he's been really, really good, really, really good. Again, it's more off the field that I look at him. When I think about Jordan Henderson, obviously on the field, yeah, he shouts and he does all that good stuff. Do you know what I mean? Like a normal captain probably would do if you can't lead by example. Like I feel he couldn't really do during his time here. But off the field, Jordan Henderson was very, very key. He was very, very, important. Again, just hear Fabrizio just talking about it, him contracts being signed, he's in Croatia at this current moment in time, end of an era, all of these, all of these all of these different things, all of these little adjectives, being used, for Jordan Henderson in a general sense. And I'm just sitting here thinking about it now, like remembering him when he first joined the football club, and then he went through that period of time where, Jordan, where Brendan Rodgers was going to sell it to Fulham. We're going to get Clint Dempsey. I'm being honest. I haven't met a fan who didn't want that deal to realistically happen. Of course, hindsight is a wonderful thing. We can all sit here now and say, oh, could have been, that was a great move. Who knows? We actually don't know. Do you get what I mean? Would we have won the Premier League in 13-14 with Clint Dempsey as opposed to, Jordan Henderson? I have no idea. But ultimately, he didn't move. He knuckled down, and that's something that you have to say in regards to Henderson. He was able to knuckle down. He was able to put in the graft. He put in that hard work, and he was able to get himself back to a position to get himself into the squad, get himself into the team, and then obviously later on become such an integral part of the team in a general sense in terms of our success under Jurgen Klopp. And also as well, another thing that I think about is, when James Milner came in, of course, Milner was very experienced. Of course, been here since he was a 16-year-old, playing for Leeds, Newcastle, Aston Villa, Manchester City. Obviously at Manchester City, winning all those trophies and things like that. It was a different type of leadership that I felt that James Milner was coming in for. Now, if we didn't have Jordan Henderson at that time, Milner would have been the obvious option to be a captain. Of course he would have. He would have been our most experienced player, within the squad, the only player to have won a Premier League, at that current moment in time. So would have been brilliant to have had him as a captain, especially someone who's been in the Premier League, for such a long time. He's been there, he understands it. He understands what it means to play in that Premier League. But he was more for the experience in winning. Jordan Henderson, of course, he'd never won, apart from the League Cup, back in 2012, I believe, against Cardiff. Other than that, he didn't won anything. Been close, of course, 13-14 season. We'll get onto that in a second. But in terms of actually winning anything, he wasn't there for that. He was a different type of leader. He was, and I think James Milner also helped him in that regards, because I think he also learned quite a lot of, off of James Milner, in terms of whether it be on the pitch, whether it be off the pitch. And I think both are two things. And sometimes I actually did sit here and think I feel sometimes more like Jordan Henderson is the one who comes out and speaks and stuff like that. But I feel like James Milner probably is the real captain, within that team, from when he joined anyway. Not to discredit Jordan Henderson at all, because he was the guy who'd come out in front of the cameras. He was the one doing all of these extra little bits, media stuff, for the club in a general sense. And he did those really, really well. And as he got older, you saw in the last couple of years, especially during COVID and, thereafter, the kind of things that he was trying to get himself involved in, the kind of things he was trying to do for the football club, you know, give us a better name. Not that we needed it, so to speak, but just to help with those things, but also because I genuinely believe that he was that type of individual. You know, I don't think he just did it for the sake of, oh, I've got to do it, because not many other people were looking to do it. I know during the lockdown period, you know, before we were coming back into the game, I know Jordan Henderson was one of the main players, you know, in the Premier League, you know, who was trying to, you know, figure out a way of how we can, you know, get the ball rolling, you know, so to speak, you know. So again, like I said, very good captain, very good leader. And I'd be sitting here lying if I said we probably wouldn't miss the off-field stuff, the intangible, something I mentioned on Jerry's show. Make sure you guys obviously check that out. But something I mentioned there, the intangible stuff. But I do believe that, you know, eventually when someone else takes over, I feel like maybe not to the degree that he did it at, but I feel like someone else would probably end up just taking over those intangibles, you know, just because, you know, when you are captain of Liverpool Football Club, it's a lot deeper than, you know, people might actually think. You know, again, we'll wait and see. I have no idea. I have no idea who's even going to be the captain for, you know, so that might not even be true. But ultimately, I do believe that that is something that a Van Dijk or a Salah or a Robbo or an Alisson, I feel like that's something that they would probably look to take on purely because Jordan Henderson done it. So they will know what it's like to be a captain of Liverpool. They will understand what it's like to be the captain of Liverpool Football Club because they've seen one. They've seen one for some of these guys for such a long period of time. They understand the things that he did off the field. They understand the you know, some of the time he had to take up, you know, just to be the captain of Liverpool, all these little extra bits that people might not always even see, that might not even get shown by the media. They probably would, of course, but the players behind closed doors, they would see these things and they would understand, like, blimey, you're doing all of this stuff and blah, blah, blah. People don't even know, and red-hair and all of these kind of different things. I think someone else, again, not to the degree of a Jordan Henderson, because I think to get to the degree of Jordan Henderson, you would have to be the same in personality in your own nature. And I don't feel like maybe anyone might be like that. Who knows? Again, that might change when they become captain. So, for example, if it's a Virgil van Dijk, he might change his whole way of doing things. Who knows? But I do believe that some of the things that he did do, you know, someone else would, you know, eventually kind of, you know, just come in and, you know, do his thing. And, you know, as I mentioned before, you know, look, all the trophies, Premier League, Champions League, you know, that Champions League win, you know, that he was able to get, you know, that was really, really special for him, for his father as well. You know, you saw the embrace that they had, you know, at the end of that, you know, it was actually quite beautiful, you know, and I'd never say that, you know, about many a thing, but, you know, it generally was, you know, it was something to behold. It was a sight to see, if I'm being honest with you, you know, because you could see it was like, as much, the game was boring, the game was dead. Do you get what I mean? It wasn't a memorable game, but like it's definitely not going to be a game that anyone's going to rewatch again, if I'm being honest with you. I mean, even Liverpool fans, I don't find many who say, oh, I watched that again because it was so fun. You're not going to do that. It was a really crap game. But what you will see after the game, I feel like that's what I would prefer to watch, is that embrace, you know, the jubilation, you know, behind winning, you know, the Champions League, especially after the previous season, you know, losing to Real Madrid in the way that we kind of did, in the manner that we kind of did, being able to come back again, almost winning the Premier League as well, missing out, you know, by a point to Manchester City. So this was like, you know, the I don't want to say icing on the cake because we missed out on the Premier League, so can't really be an icing on the cake, but it was definitely a very, very, very good, you know, substitute. And then obviously the following season, him then lifting that Premier League trophy, even though, and that's one sad thing, he wasn't able to, you know, lift it in front of the fans and stuff like that. You know, we've been waiting for time, you know, couldn't even do the parade and all that stuff. You know, there's so many different things. But for him personally, on a personal level, it's big, man. It's big. And this is what I'm saying. Like, I don't want to come here and slander the guy. Look, if we're going to look in terms of the footballing sense, you know, if we go on to, for example, here we can see David Ornstein obviously put this out today in regards to Roméo Lavia. Liverpool set to return with improved offer. Southampton rejected the £37 million opening bid as they seek £50 million package. I know that Fabrizio Romano also came out with something later on in the day in regards to Lavia, speaking about Liverpool are preparing. I believe he put out something about us preparing a second bid for Lavia. Look, if we're replacing, look, we needed a midfield rebuild. You know, we all know that. Are we happy with the current midfield rebuild? You know, if we get the Lavia in, you know, Alexis McAllister already got in, Soboslai, Lavia. I think I'll save that more for another video. I'd say that I'll give that like a 7 out of 10 potentially. Yeah, 6.57 out of 10. It could be better, but at the same time, to say you're not necessarily happy with what's here, I think that'd be extremely harsh. McAllister, decent player, Zoboslai, decent player, and Lavia got that high potential, showed what he's all about last season as well. So, it'd be difficult to sit here and say, whether or not that's not really a good, rebuild, so to speak. I like all three players. I do think that if the manager can get things working properly, which obviously we'll get into another time, if he gets things working properly, you've got three fantastic players for the future, regardless of what anybody thinks. Again, like I said, it will come down to the manager and how he decides to utilize things. But of course, we needed that rebuild. So many players leaving, the midfield almost basically being gutted out with Jordan Henderson, and now Fabinho as well. Talks about him potentially moving on, even though they have stalled, but he may potentially move on. So, we do need that kind of rebuild, and it was kind of time. Fabinho, again, we'll get onto that another time. But with Jordan Henderson, it was time. It was time in 2021, when he could have potentially have left, didn't leave, whatever, cool, hindsight, wonderful thing. Obviously, we look now 2 years later, and he's obviously leaving in these kind of circumstances. So, yeah, it was just time. It was just time. And this is why I'm not, listen, love the man, hate the man, whatever your feelings are towards him, you have to, you generally have to respect the guy. You have to respect him, bro. You can't, you couldn't not. Do you get what I mean? Then you are really a true hater, of just things in life, kind of thing. He epitomizes everything about a Jurgen Klopp, kind of team in terms of the passion and stuff like that. The way that we want to play. His relationship with the fans. Obviously, I know it's a little bit at this moment in time with some fans, but in a general sense, whilst he was here, especially when he got over that kind of, Brendan Rodgers wants to sell me and stuff like that, and he was able to really knuckle down his relationship with the fans, and I think their fans are dear to him as well. When he took over from Steven Gerrard, you're taking over from arguably Liverpool's greatest ever player. So when you're taking over from that and you're nowhere near that level of quality, it's going to be difficult, and there were questions asked about that at the time as well. Is he ready? Is he good enough? Will he be able to lead Liverpool to anything? All these other various different things that might have even been out of his control. Do you know what I mean? He don't spend the money. He don't buy the players. So, certain things would have been out of his control. And Gerrard is a special case, because he's a fantastic player. Jordan Henderson had to do things differently. And I think that's something that he learned whilst he was on the job, and he got really, really good at, was that I can't be like Gerrard. Because Gerrard was someone who he led on the pitch and off the pitch. Because of his actual natural ability, he was able to do both. Not every captain of a team can do both. It's just one of them kind of things. You guys can name them, in the comment section. There's been many a captain who have been dead ballers. When I say dead ballers, in regard to the Premier League and how we look at the Premier League players, if we was to rate them, but fantastic captains. Really, really good captains. You need those kind of players, on the pitch. So, like I said, I've got nothing but respect for the guy. Do you get what I mean? I will say, regardless of anything, I did think it was time. So I'm not going to be sitting here thinking, gone too soon type of thing. This isn't a Gundogan at Manchester City where you're thinking, ooh, we could easily get a couple of more seasons out here. I'm trying to say Vincent Kompany could have potentially have stayed. I know he wanted to end it there, but, it's not that type of vibe because of his ability on the pitch. I think it's just more off the pitch that we look at and we're like, okay, cool. We're going to miss that. Yeah, do you get what I mean? That's inevitable. Jurgen Klopp's going to also miss, another one of his lieutenants. Do you get what I mean? He's lost to Milner already. He's lost to Firmino already. He's going to lose another one, potentially even Fabinho as well. So he needs to keep the others really, really close in order for him to kind of get his message across and get the team moving in, another direction. But like I said, if he really wanted to get this Liverpool 2.0 and everything like that sorted out, he had to do this, man. Do you know what I mean? It was just one of those kind of things that I think it just had to be, it just had to be done. It just had to be done. And, again, we give him our best wishes, farewell and all of that. But Liverpool move into a new era, as I mentioned before, and as we see here with this picture, we move into a new era now. Hopefully, if this Lavia deal gets done and sorted out and agreed, then you've got your three new midfielders. So we're gonna potentially be birthing some new stars, some potential new legends. That's exactly what I want to see. I want these three. If Lavia obviously comes, I want these three to be legends of the football club now. Moving forward, I want them legends in terms of they've won so many different trophies, won the Premier League 3 times and Champions League twice, and all of these kind of various different things. You know, they're all at decent ages as well, where they could potentially do that. You know, and I think the club, in a general sense, one of the main things that I'm seeing, but you know, whether it comes to fruition, so to speak, is that, of course, look, we had such a poor season last season. I know a lot of us just want quite a lot of the players to just get out of it. And that's not realistic. And I don't think we even should do things like that. It's just more the ones that we know are not up to par with what we're trying to achieve, you know, next season. And Henderson was one of them. Yeah, it's just the truth. He was generally just one of those players. I reckon if his contract was running out at the end of this season as well, like a Fabinho, like a James Milner, he would have left the same way. Do you know what I mean? So I think we should be quite happy that we're even getting some form of a fee, you know, for him. So yeah, it is one of those ones. But I think what I'm seeing from the club in a general sense is we do need to get away from the sentimentality. And maybe we're doing that this summer, you know, potentially. We'll wait and see by the end of the summer how those kind of things pan out. Yeah, we need to get away from that. I think that was, for me, it makes us unique in terms of a football club, and I get that. I totally get that, and I understand it as well, because of that uniqueness with Liverpool, how they're quite synonymous with their players, the fans and stuff, the relationship that we kind of have. But it's not something that breeds winning mentality in any way, shape, or form, if I'm being totally honest with you. You know, if players are not performing at the level that you need them to, they have to go. You know, we should not keep any player who's not performing at that level. You know, once we know, of course, I'm not saying don't give them a chance, give them the chance if you want. But, you know, a season can kind of give you an indicator, especially if it's a whole season. We're not talking about, you know, players who, sometimes it can work depending on age and context and all that kind of crap. I get that. But ultimately, when players are starting to reach the ending of their careers and, you know, they get into that latter stage, yeah, we got to start having conversations. And, you know, it's been really annoying keeping players here at this football club for so many years that should have left earlier than this. All the players who have left on a free, you know, in the summer, the Milners, the Firminos, the Keiters, the Oxes, all should have left a long time ago. Not Firmino potentially a long time ago, but the rest, long time ago. There should not be. None of them should have gone on for free. None of them. That's poor business management from the football club. That is very, very poor business management, because they should have gone a long time ago. Why they haven't, whatever. It is what it is. You know what I mean? We're in this situation now. So that's one of the things that I really hope that we improve upon as a football club, is that we don't continue that kind of trend of, well, let's just keep him around and blah, blah, blah. That might change with a different manager potentially in the future when Klopp finally goes. I don't know. Maybe the owners, who knows? I have no idea. But ultimately, that's something that I felt needed to change. And hopefully it will. Hopefully this is like the beginning. I know it's a bit like baby steps, but, you know, I'm hoping that this is the beginning, you know, of this kind of thing of, all right, we're not keeping the dead weight around. You're not good enough, you get out of it. Play for Liverpool Football Club. We need the best. We need the quality. We need you to step up in every game. We can't fall back into that trap of, yeah, well, let's just keep him for. No, you're not good enough. You got to go. And I think hopefully that's what we're seeing, you know, from Liverpool, you know, at this current moment in time. But yeah, guys, look, Jordan Henderson, man, big up your damn self. You know, like I said, I remember, I totally, just looking through the pictures and stuff, I totally remember, you know, when you signed here for the football club, you know, like 2011, man, was such a long time ago. Like, such a long time ago. Like, who remembers this picture, guys? Yeah, I mean, in the comments, let me know. Name all of them. Yeah, I mean, name all of them. Heck, name the goalkeeper. Name the blimey goalkeeper, man. Name the goalkeeper. But look, big up Henderson. Thank you for everything that you've helped us achieve, you know, throughout your time here. Look, you're onto pastures new now. Liverpool are moving forward. It is what it is. And yeah, I think that's kind of the only way really to kind of end it, you know, with Jordan Henderson and stuff like that. I think, yeah, he deserves our respect, and I think everyone should respect that. And yeah, just give him your best wishes, and we move from there. But guys, there you go. That is today's video done and dusted. Please make sure you like, share, and subscribe to the channel, please, if you haven't done so already. I'm G, and we are